So far we've been looking at what we call simple interest, but a lot of the time and a lot of loans and a lot of financial institutions use what's called compound interest. So compound interest is the idea that we're compounding exactly what it says. So the idea of adding accumulated interest back to the principal, and then your interest is earned on the interest, or you pay interest on your interest as you sort of go. So each time we have this sort of cycle where you get compounded depending on your time period, that your interest is affecting your next interest payment, which is your next interest payment. So there is a significant difference between looking at compound, which adds interest to interest, or just simple interest, which is only on the principal. So if you look at sort of a visual representation or graph about what those look like, we have the simple interest just growing on the principal, so it's steady. Whereas compound interest is increasing its interest each time, which means that that is being affected or bringing into the formula each time. So we have this sort of more exponential side of growth, so that increasing. So the effects of compounding are quite significantly different than just looking at interest on your principal. So there's a couple just questions looking at that idea. So would an investment earn more interest with simple or compound interest? So if we look at the two and say we invested about the same amount of money, a little bit over $1,000, then you'll see simple interest growing only so much, but compound interest is always more than it. It's always more interest being compounded on top of it. So definitely compound interest would earn more interest over time. B is asking us if we owe money. So if we have a loan, would we owe more money with simple or compound interest? So the same idea is happening, that if we pay it back just with simple interest, that's only on the principal. But if it's compound interest, then over time, it's also compounding the interest on top of it. So again, we would definitely owe more money in a compound interest sense. It would be great if we could always have simple interest when we had loans, but that's not usually the case in the financial world. Usually you're talking about compound interest, depending on when it's compounded. So when you're looking at these types of financial questions in the course, there's kind of a way to sort of indicate whether you're using compound or simple interest. So if you see anything that talks about per annum, then that's actually going to be simple interest. So 6.5% per annum, think about that as the idea of simple interest. So if you ever see PA, think simple interest. But then if it's compounded, it always needs to give you the time period for which it's compounded. So you might say 6.5 per year, compounded quarterly. So again, the word sort of compound is going to be showing up, the idea that interest grows on top of interest.